Goddesses and gods gather around. Welcome to Myths and Makeup. I'm Vanessa, and I'm thrilled to share my passion of mythology with you while I get ready for the day. Let's uncover the fascinating stories of mythology together, from Athena's wisdom to the captivating stories of the muses and everything in between. So grab your brushes and a mirror, and let's unleash the beauty and magic within. Happy Saturday, everyone. If you were with me last week, we saw Odin pull off some pretty wild stunts. We watched King Geirrod torture a disguised All-Father between two roaring fires, only to accidentally fall on his own sword. We saw Odin turn into a snake to steal the meat of poetry, and we cheered when Odin's 3-year-old toddler lifted a giant's leg off of his dad's neck. And if you missed those stories, definitely make sure to check it out after this week's video. It'll all be, I add them all into a playlist. So if you're wanting to binge, because I'm a binger. If you're wanting to binge any of the mythologies that I have done, they're all in a playlist in order from the first one to the last one. So if you want to do that. But I have already done my eyebrows, so we're going to just get into this eye look. I want to kind of do something to match my shirt, like a little bit of light blue, a little bit of darker blue, like tie-dye eyeshadow look with a pink wing to match this right here, this little rose. So that is the plan. Today, as I work on this look, we're shifting focuses straight to Thor. Thor is going to be a big part of today. We usually think of Thor as the muscle of Asgard, but today's stories show what happens when he has to deal with a brain over brawn. We're talking about Alvis, the dwarf who tried to marry Thor's daughter, Geirrod. So there's two. The human one, the king that we spoke about last week, and then today we're talking about a different one who is a Jodin. And his back-breaking giant daughters, Skrymir, who used reality-bending illusions to make Thor look like a total amateur. So grab your brushes and let's do this. Let us get into it today on this beautiful Saturday. So, Alvis the dwarf. Alvis. His name translates to all wise, and he is actually one of the only dwarfs in Norse mythology that has his own poem. Now, despite his name and his vast knowledge of trivia, he proved himself to be pretty unwise when it came to strategy and cunning. We don't know his exact backstory or where he came from, but we do know he is not capable of outsmarting Thor, and as we all know, Thor is really not the smartest crayon in the box. No, he is not. No. Was it this palette? No, I already have it open on my desk. Okay. Get my little mirror. See, Alvis decided to pay Thor a visit to claim Thor's daughter as his bride and take her back to his underground estate. But given the massive social differences between dwarves and the goddesses, Thor was in no hurry to marry her off to this dwarf. No. The very first thing Thor did when he arrived was insult Alvis, calling him a monster and all these things. Just insulted him from the get. He was like, there must have been a little bit of pink left over in this brush, because it is right by my water line. It is a little pink. that's not the case for these other brushes because I did wipe them off. Let's see. Because I'm about to go in with a white and to lighten this blue up even more. Looks pretty good. Let's see how this white does. He said that he was undeserving of any bride, asking if he had spent the night with a corpse given his pale, dwarfy polar. Like Thor was on one. Alvis threw the shade right back, asking Thor who he was and how a scoundrel like him could ever be related to such a beautiful girl. He was like, I'm not playing games with you. You want to throw some shade? I got you. Listen to these insults. More insults were going back and forth. They were letting each other have it when it came to these insults. They just kept coming. Thor laid down his conditions. He would never grant permission to the marriage unless the dwarf could answer every single question that Thor asked him. The questions were about the natural phenomenons, asking what different beings called the earth, the sun, the moon, the sky, the clouds, and the weather, because everybody had a different name for each of them. The dwarf knew everything. He knew the names used in hell by the elves, by the Jotun, by the gods. Njord felt peaceful by the water, so the Vanir called the sea the restful harbor, while the dwarves called it the deep, deep sea. Clouds were helmets of the hidden in hell. Barley was things to make beer by to the elves, and night was queen of dreams to the dwarves. So he was like, I know these things. I know these things. Let's see if I can get a tie-dye effect. I don't know though. We will see. Then I'm just gonna blend them. Blend. Where did my little towel go that I was using? I'm going to double check and make sure that I got all these colors out from my previous look that I did. At this point, you think Thor's daughter was doomed, but she couldn't even get in a word during this test that decided her entire future. Alvis answered every single question flawlessly, but Thor had tricked him. Thor was just stalling him by keeping the dwarf talking until the sun began to shine through the windows, and caught in the sunlight, caught in the sunlight when he should have been underground, and poof, Alvis had turned into stone. Maybe it's not working like I wanted it to. Okay, new plan. We're not going to try to do this tie-dye thing. We're just going to do a nice blue. Look, a light blue, because I mean my shirt is pretty light. So we're just going to blend this, because I know I just added this darker blue. But I can always put the light blue back over the top of it. And yeah. So dwarves turn to stone when they see the sunlight in Norse mythology. So in this one, Thor knew what he was doing. Thor outsmarted him just by keeping him talking until dawn. But his encounters with the Jotun weren't usually that quiet. You know, he made a big ruckus, you know, just when Loki got himself locked in a wooden chest for 3 months to save his own skin by setting up Thor, leading Thor straight into a giant's trap without his signature weapons. And this brings us to Geirrod and his 2 daughters. His daughters' names mean protection from spears. Well, his name means protection from spears. One of his daughters' names means Roaring One, and the other one means grasp. Geirrod was another belligerent Jotun who appears in poems, but he doesn't have his own. I'm actually liking the way this is looking. This is looking kind of cute. What if... No, because I was going to do the... I was thinking... Is there a blue shimmery? There is. I could put a shimmer on this, make it look a little cute. Oh, my nose itches. So we could, let's see. A nice little light blue. I'll add some more color here. And then let's do make the inner here a little lighter, you know? It's been a while since I've done a blue look. And then let's take this ever so lightly. Does this palette have a lighter blue? No, those are pretty much the same. Just a light tiny bit of this darker blue out here on this. Darken it up on the outside and on the top. I kind of want to pull it in, probably to like the middle of my eyebrow. Just give that brow bone some definition, because why not? And then go back in with the brush we're using with the light blue and blend them together. like that. I think that's pretty cute. Okay. Now time for the liner. The liner. One day, Loki was out and about flying with Freya's falcon suit. As he does, he just loved borrowing everybody's stuff. He was like, oh, you're not using that today? Great. I'm going to borrow it. I need to go flying for a little bit. Do this wing real fast. I didn't get my little piece of paper out that I used to dry. And as he was flying, he swooped down to peek into Geirrod's giant hall. Geirrod saw this magnificent bird and sent a servant out to catch it. Loki taunted the servant, making him climb treacherous high walls, and when Loki went to fly away, at the last second his foot got caught in the stone, and he was brought before the king. And the king noticed that the bird had human eyes. And when Loki refused to talk, the king locked him in a wooden chest alone for 3 whole months. Starving, Loki did what Loki does best. He bargained his life away. He promised to lure Thor into the hall without his hammer or his girdle of strength. And on the way, and meanwhile, Thor, he was out doing Thor things. He was doing Thor things, but he was with a woman, a Jodin, Thor. I think we should add some dots. I don't know. I could try to do a rose. I've never done it before, but we could try. I need a smaller brush. Need a smaller, tiny tipped brush. That is what I need. With a woman named Grid. She was suspecting a trap, and so she was like, here, Thor, use my things. Yeah, this is not, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So she's like, here, use my own girdle of strength. Let's go ahead and just take that off there like that. And we're going to add, because that was kind of like where the dark blue was. So let's add some of that dark blue back in there. Get this brush and try to blend it. I know it's not going to blend as well as it did the first time. That'll do. That'll do. But I kind of don't like how thick that wing is. I kind of do not like how thick it is. She gave him some iron gauntlets and an iron staff. So Thor set out and came to a raging river. As he tried to cross it, the water kept rising unnaturally. And so he decided to search upstream and figure out what was causing this to happen. And take that wing away. Thor saw Geirrod's daughter straddling the river, causing it to flood through her own bodily fluids. Now, we don't know if she was just taking a pee or if she was on her period. We don't know. But Snorri was not very great at telling us what body fluids they were using. Okay. Let's just go with pee because, yeah. Let's just go with pee. Okay, the liner is going to go over that, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like right there. But, okay, let's do this liner again. Might as well go over the whole thing again. Then we're going to take this little tiny brush. We're going to make that. Okay. Thor grabbed a massive boulder and hurled the rock at her and knocked her down, and then pulled himself out of the current. Then, when Thor arrived at the king's court, he was lodged in the goat shed. And this would offend other people, but Thor, loves his goats. So he was chilling. He was like, okay, yeah, I'll go stay with the goats. He sat down in the only chair available, but as soon as he felt his seat, like he sat down, and as soon as he sat down, the seat started rising. And he was like, what is going on here? What is going on here? The king's two daughters were under the chair trying to crush him into the roof. Bracing himself with the staff that was gifted to him, Thor shoved down with all the strength that he had, breaking the sisters' backs with a loud crack. He snapped their backs. Yes, he did. Is there like a fuchsia pink in this palette? This cherry wet should do the job. Should do the job. Maybe. Let's see on my hand first. Yeah, it should do. Oh yes, that looks great. I know I had, I'll worry about it later. The king invited Thor into the main hall after this, under the pretense of playing a little game. He was like, oh, Thor, do you want to come play a game with us? Come play a game. Let's play a game. I want to do little dots. some random little dots. Cute. Cute. Okay, so I'm gonna do my other eye real fast and I'll be right back. I am back. I am back. So, the moment Thor stepped inside of the hall, the king used tongs to grab a glowing chunk of melted iron of fire and threw it straight at Thor. But Thor caught it with his own borrowed iron gauntlets. Realizing he had ruined his own little trap, the king hid behind a solid iron pillar. Thor threw the molten iron right back with so much force that it blasted straight through the pillar and into the king's body and through the stone wall behind him. It proved once and for all, even without his little hammer, Thor was not to be tested, and Loki was definitely one not to be bargained with. Throwing molten iron through giant kings was a classic Thor. Classic. But brute strength completely failed him on this next adventure. Because when Thor and Loki traveled into the woods, they ran into a giant who fought using pure illusion magic. This brings us to Startmar, which translates to boaster, and his alter ego, Utgar's Loki. Despite the name, he and Loki are not related, though both are master tricksters, hence Loki at the end of his alter ego, because Loki translates into trickster. Startmar was enormous. He actually was bigger than the gods. He was actually a big giant, and possessed advanced magic that allowed him to bend the rules of reality. He was a big boy. Big boy. It started when Thor and Loki were adventuring and stayed at a farmer's place. Thor slaughtered his own 2 goats for dinner, telling the family not to break the bones. The farmer's son did not listen and cracked a leg bone and sucked out the marrow. Okay. And the next morning, when Thor resurrected the goats with his hammer, one was limping. And Thor was like, what's going on with my goat here? Why is he limping? Did I not tell you to not break the bones? Okay. And so Thor took the son and the sister, the son and the daughter of the farmer, as little slaves. I mentioned this, slightly mentioned it in Thor's story when I did it, but this is, more explained. So they were at Thor's beck and call. Thor was in charge of them. You hurt my goats. I told you not to hurt my goats. These are my precious goats. I mean, who doesn't love goats? Goats, I love goats. I want a goat so bad. Goats are the cutest things ever. Oh my god, they're so adorable. So I would be very upset too. Very upset. So he had them carry his knapsack. Traveling into a massive forest, they found a strange building to sleep in. Thor found a room. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lay here. I'm gonna sleep here tonight. And the other, Loki and the two servant children, all laid down together in the thing, you know. An earthquake woke them in the middle of the night. So Thor stood guard at the door while the others hid. At dawn, Thor found a huge, like I'm telling you, massive giant sleeping nearby. His loud snoring had definitely caused the ground to shake. The giant woke up and introduced himself as Skrymir, and asked why they were sleeping in his glove. The massive hall was his glove, and inside the room that Thor was in was the thumb hole of the glove. So we can just imagine how big this man is. Okay, this giant. How big this giant is. That night, they couldn't untie the giant's knapsack. Hungry and annoyed, Thor hit the sleeping giant on the head with his hammer as hard as he could. And the giant just woke up and asked if a leaf had fallen on him. Eventually, they reached a castle where the king Utgard Loki challenged them to prove their skills. He was like, okay, come here and prove your skills to me. Loki entered an eating contest with a servant named Logi, maybe, and lost. The boy servant entered a foot race against another servant named Huggy and completely was outran. So he lost as well. They are just getting beat in all these little contests. Thor tried a drinking contest from a giant horn. But after 3 massive gulps, the liquid barely moved. The level did not change at all. Not once did it change. Thor then tried to lift the king's pet gray cat. It was massive, but only could lift a single paw. Finally, Thor tried at a wrestling match with this old maid. And the old woman forced Thor down to one knee. And Thor couldn't even beat an old woman. Thor had never been so humiliated in his life. So, the king of the castle walked them out to reveal the truth. The knapsack had been tied with a magic wire. When Thor had hit Skrymir's head in his sleep, the giant had secretly moved a mountain between his head and the hammer right before Thor hit him. And so, Thor had actually caved 3 deep valleys into the landscape. Logi was actually an all-consuming wildfire that burnt up everything. Huggy was the king's thoughts, and no one could be faster than thought. The drinking horn was connected straight to the ocean, and Thor drank so much he literally caused the ocean tides to go out. The cat was actually the Midgard serpent. Lifting his paw nearly pulled the monster off the seabed, which could have destroyed the entire world. And the old maiden was old age itself, a force no one had ever defeated. In rage, Thor raised his hammer to smash everything. But in a blink of an eye, the king and his entire castle vanished. Just completely vanished from sight. They did not know where. They were just standing there like complete idiots. Like complete idiots. Let me go ahead and finish this blush real fast. And then I'm going to do my lashes. Okay, I'm going to do my lashes real fast and I will be right back. All right, I am back. You know what the most terrifying thing is? When you're putting mascara on, when you don't have black eyeliner on. Because you could see everywhere when you mess up. And because my glue for my lashes is also black. That is also terrifying. From Thor outsmarting a dwarf with daylight to catching molten iron with his bare hands. Where is my... There it is. And nearly drinking the entire ocean by accident, Norse mythology is always keeping us guessing and on our toes. If you loved hanging out with me today, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow mythology and makeup lovers. I love to hear down in the comments what story was your favorite today. And any suggestions for I cannot talk when I'm doing setting spray because it does not taste very good when it gets in your mouth. But any upcoming looks that you'd like to see me do, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep unleashing your inner magic. Stay curious as well. And I will see you guys next week with another video. Also forgot to say, do we like how the look turned out? I feel like it matches my shirt very well today. I think it's super freaking cute. But I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.